The alien general's voice echoed through the vast command chamber like thunder rolling across a barren planet, his mandibles clicking with impatient curiosity. "Human, explain these scars, these wounds that mar your fragile form. How do such weak creatures survive the wars you claim to wage?" Captain Elias Thorne stood chained to the interrogation dais on the flagship of the Zorathian fleet, his uniform torn and bloodied, surrounded by a sea of glowing holographic displays and the hulking forms of insectoid warriors. The air hummed with the low buzz of their exoskeletons, and the massive viewport behind the general revealed the armada, thousands of sleek obsidian ships poised to descend upon Earth like a swarm of locusts. Elias's body ached from the recent battle, his left arm hanging limp from a fresh plasma burn, but his eyes burned with defiance. He had been captured during the defense of the outer colonies, the last human stronghold before the invaders reached Seoul. But as he met the general's multifaceted gaze, a flicker of something darker stirred in his chest, not fear, but a memory that clawed at his soul. The general, Vexcar, towered over him, his chitinous armor gleaming under the cold lights. "Your species is an anomaly. Soft flesh, no natural weapons, yet you fight on. Tell me of these scars, or I will extract the truth myself." The threat hung heavy, but Elias knew this wasn't just interrogation. It was a spectacle for the entire fleet, broadcast across every ship. Billions of Zorathian eyes watched, waiting for the human to break. What they didn't know was that Elias's scars weren't just wounds. They were stories etched in blood and fire. And this one question could unravel everything. Elias drew a ragged breath, the metallic tang of alien air filling his lungs. His mind raced back to the beginning, to the day the stars turned against humanity. It had started innocently enough, with first contact. The Zorathians arrived as emissaries of peace, their massive hive ships blotting out the sun over New York. They promised technology, unity among the stars, but beneath their diplomatic hums lay a hunger for domination. Humans, they said, were primitives, unfit to roam the galaxy without guidance that meant subjugation. Elias had been a young lieutenant then, fresh from the academy, his skin unmarred and his heart full of wonder. How naive he'd been. The first betrayal came swiftly. Zorathian enforcers descended on mining colonies, claiming resource rights under interstellar law. Protests turned to skirmishes, skirmishes to battles. Elias's unit was deployed to Titan, Saturn's moon, where the ice fields ran red with human blood. He remembered the cold seeping through his suit as he fired his pulse rifle at the advancing horde. A Zorathian drone lunged at him, its claws slicing through his thigh, the first scar, a jagged line that still throbbed on rainy days back home. He had killed it, but the pain lingered, a reminder that peace was a lie. But that was only the beginning. Vexcar leaned closer, his antennae twitching. "Human, speak. Your silence bores the fleet." The chamber screens flickered with live feeds from the armada, warriors chittering in anticipation. Elias straightened as much as his chains allowed, his voice steady despite the agony. "You want to know about my scars? Fine, but understand this. Each one is a testament to why you'll never break us." He pointed to the burn on his arm, fresh and raw. "This, from your boarding party on the USS Vanguard. We held the line for hours, even as your plasma tore through our hull." The general's eyes narrowed, but Elias continued, his words painting pictures in the minds of his captors. Flashbacks flooded him. The Vanguard had been his home for years, a colossal battleship retrofitted with stolen Zorathian tech. Captained by Admiral Reyes, a woman with a gaze like forged steel, it was the spearhead of humanity's resistance. Elias had risen through the ranks, his tactical brilliance saving countless lives. But on that fateful day, the fleet ambushed them in the asteroid belt. Alarms blared as hull breaches multiplied. "Hold the bridge!" Reyes had shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Elias fought hand to claw, his knife embedding in his Zorathian's throat. A stray blast grazed his arm, searing flesh to bone. He didn't stop. They repelled the boarders, but the ship was lost. Reyes went down with it, her last words to Elias over comms. "Live, Captain! Make them pay!" The memory twisted like a knife in his gut. What secrets did she take to her grave? The Zorathians murmured, their hive mind linking thoughts across the fleet. Vexkar silenced them with wave. "These tales are entertaining, but they prove nothing. Your wounds heal slowly, your bodies frail. We Zorathians regenerate limbs in days. Why persist in futility?" Elias smiled faintly, a dangerous glint in his eye. "Because our wounds aren't just physical, they're what make us strong." He traced a faint line across his forehead from a head injury during the Battle of Proxima Centauri. That fight had been humanity's first victory, pushing back a Zorathian vanguard. But victory came with nightmares, visions of floating corpses in zero-G, the silent screams of vacuum. The fleet's broadcast hummed with static as more warriors tuned in. Elias sensed the shift. His words were planting seeds of doubt, but that was only the beginning. He delved into the emotional scars, the ones no blade could carve. Losing his family in the initial invasion, his wife Sarah vaporized in an orbital strike on Chicago, their daughter, little Mia, gone in an instant. The pain had nearly broken him, driving him to the front lines with reckless fury. "You aliens fight for the hive, for logic and expansion. We fight for love, for loss. That's our edge." Vexkar recoiled slightly, as if the concept was poison. Tension built in the chamber, the air thick with unspoken questions. Elias's chains rattled as he shifted, his mind racing. He had to escalate this, turn the interrogation into a weapon. "Ask about this one." He pulled up his sleeve to reveal an intricate tattoo covering a burn scar. It depicted a phoenix rising from ashes, inked after the fall of Mars. That colony had been humanity's pride, a domed paradise turned graveyard. Zorathian bioweapons had unleashed a plague, twisting bodies into horrors. Elias led the evacuation, carrying infected civilians through toxic storms. The scar came from a collapsing structure, pinning him as he saved the last shuttle. Survivors called him a hero. I called it survival guilt. Why him? Why not them? The general's antennae flattened. "Enough stories. What hidden truth do these wounds conceal? Your fleet is scattered, your world's burning. Surrender, and we may spare the remnants." Elias laughed, a hollow sound that echoed unnaturally. The fleet fell silent, waiting. This was the moment, the mid-story pivot that would shatter expectations. "You think these are just war wounds? They're more. They're keys." What I saw next changed everything. Elias dropped to a whisper, forcing the aliens to lean in. "During the Unification Wars, we discovered something on Earth, buried in Antarctica, under miles of ice. An ancient artifact, not human, not Zorathian, older than both. It responded to our blood, our pain. Scientists called it the Echo Stone. It amplifies human will, turns emotion into energy." Lies? Truth? Elias wove the tale carefully, blending fact with fiction. The stone wasn't real, or was it? His inner conflict raged. Reveal too much, and humanity dies. Too little, and he does.
But the stone was real, in a way. It was a metaphor for human spirit, but Elias had seen prototypes, neural enhancers developed in secret labs, implanted in select soldiers. They boosted adrenaline, healing, even telepathic bursts. His own implant hummed faintly now, syncing with his heartbeat. The scars? Cover for the surgery sites. When we hurt, it activates, he said. Your invasions awakened it across our species. That's why we keep fighting, keep winning impossible battles. Vex-Kar's eyes widened, the first crack in his composure. The fleet's chittering stopped, a profound silence descending. Elias pushed further, escalating the tension. Remember the ambush at Nebula's edge? Your armada lost half its ships to a ghost fleet. Not ghosts, humans powered by the echo. We felt your fear through the void. The general slammed a claw on the dais. Lies! Prove it! Elias closed his eyes, focusing. The implant surged, a wave of empathy projecting outward. Across the fleet, Zorathians clutched their heads as flashes of human memories invaded.
The agony of loss, the fire of revenge, the unbreakable bond of brotherhood. Warriors dropped weapons, drones faltered in formation. It wasn't full control, just enough to sow chaos. Panic rippled through the chamber. "What sorcery is this?" Vex-Kar bellowed, but his voice trembled. Elias opened his eyes, sweat beading on his brow. The low point hit him then. Exhaustion, doubt. Was this enough, or had he doomed Earth by revealing too soon? Betrayal loomed. A Zorathian advisor whispered to the general, eyes gleaming with ambition. "Kill him now, before it spreads." Claws raised, but Elias met the blow with calm. "You can't kill what you don't understand." The advisor struck, but Vex-Kar intervened, curiosity overriding rage. The turning point exploded. Alarms blared, human reinforcements arriving, cloaked by ecotech. The fleet scrambled, but the projected emotions had disrupted their hive mind. Ships collided, weapons misfired. Elias broke free in the chaos, his scars aching, but his will ironclad. He fought to the viewport, staring at the stars. "This is for Sarah, for Mia," he whispered. Laser fire erupted. Alliances shattered within the Zorathian ranks. Some warriors, touched by human emotion, defected, their logical minds cracked by the flood of feeling. The climax raged across the flagship. Elias confronted Vex-Kar in single combat, human frailty against alien might. "Your wounds, they make you monsters," the general hissed, claws slashing. Elias dodged, countering with a stolen energy blade. "No, they make us human." He struck true, not to kill, but to wound, mirroring his own scars. Vex-Kar fell, mandibles agape. "What are you?" Elias knelt, voice soft. "Survivors, lovers, fighters, and now you're equals." The fleet fragmented, retreats sounding across the void. Elias escaped in a stolen shuttle, racing toward Earth. The war wasn't over, but the tide had turned. As stars streaked by, he touched his scars, each one a victory. Humanity's hidden truth, our emotions as weapons, had silenced the invaders. But in the quiet, Elias wondered, at what cost to our souls? The shuttle docked on a rebuilt Vanguard 2, cheers echoing, yet Elias stood alone on the bridge, gazing at the healing worlds below. The artifact, the echo, it was real, but its power came from within. No stone, just the human heart. He smiled faintly, the weight lifting. In the end, our wounds don't define us, they refine us. And as the sun rose over a free earth, Elias whispered to the stars, "We're just getting started."